right, hello everybody, and welcome to the Hashgraph Holiday Mixer, brought to you by the Creative Coast in Savannah, Georgia, and also by Ledgerama here in Savannah, Georgia as well. Happy to see all these smiling, happy faces. I see some lights, and I see some ugly holiday hats and sweaters. So appreciate everybody joining us. I really, I've been doing these meetups for Hedera Hashgraph as an ambassador. I started in October of 2018. So here we are a little bit more than 2 years later. It's been a fun time doing it here in Savannah, and just really happy to get some of the guests that have been here over the year. 2020 has been an interesting and challenging year in many ways. So I really wanted to get the community get together, one last opportunity to get us all together before the year's over, to just kind of talk shop a little bit, have some fun. I know a couple of us have got some holiday beverages that we're enjoying. So just wanted to get together with some folks and talk about how the year was and what's to come. And yeah, so excited to have everybody here. So first off, before we move on to the other guests, both Cooper and a number of folks from Hedera have been on the Hedera Savannah meetup in the past. So I guess probably best place to kick it off is with the representatives, one of the reps from Hedera itself, and we'll get a little news update and maybe get some intel on what's coming in 2021. So without further ado, I will, oh, we got some other folks wanting to jump in here. Let me let them in. The more the merrier. Happy holidays, everybody. Great to see you, Jesse. And so without further ado, I'll kick it off to Cooper Kunz and let our usual MC for Hedera events, I'll let him take over and do a little chit chatting. All right, Cooper.
Hey, Jeremy. Thanks for having me. Very happy to have kind of a holiday meet up with everyone here. It's nice to see everyone's familiar face. But yeah, happy to chat about how I think the year went, or what I'm excited about for the new year, or answer any questions that people have for me, or we have Lena on the call as well if she can be of any help. But yeah, happy to talk about whatever you want, Jeremy.
Sure. So one of the things that I'll kind of kick it off with, so for Hedera, what would you say? Well, I'm going to ask, it's kind of a twofold question. So for your experience of the year 2020, what was the biggest challenge for you within Hedera?
I mean, that's a great question. I think for me personally, just, how we navigated the obvious coronavirus pandemic, I used to spend a third half my time on the road doing, workshops and conference talks and meetups and all those types of fun things. So for me and Lena, I think probably the most challenging thing has been, repivoting our event strategy and moving everything online that we can, while still engaging with not only our community, but new communities as well. So doing things like, moving our hackathon to being a virtual hack was a big deal, and starting the virtual meetup series, and, other types of digital content that we can make. So in my specific role, I would say not being able to see people in person has been the biggest challenge.
So Cooper, just real briefly, what is you mentioned your specific role. What is your specific role in Hedera? We often talk to you, but I think there may be, you do so many things within Hedera, there may be a little misunderstanding or misconception about what your role at Hedera is.
Yeah, that's fair. So I'm technically a developer evangelist. So my job is to educate and enable startups, individual developers, enterprise solutions, anyone who wants to build on the network, really. And, kind of getting their foot in the door, making sure they're aware of Hedera, through things like conference talks and presentations, and then also making sure, if they're interested in Hedera, that they have the tools and the support that they need to actually be successful. So debugging some people's code or suggesting specific implementations, all those types of things that I can help to have, people be successful building on Hedera.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
So looking forward to 20, and the reason I started, I know I didn't want to start off on a down note by asking people about the challenges, but 2020 was just kind of one of those years. So my typical approach is to, I like bad news first, and then I like good news later, so we can get the bad stuff out of the way. And so at any rate, yeah. So I didn't mean to start off on a down note with the challenges question there, but just seems like it's kind of appropriate given the year. So so looking forward to 2021, what kind of stuff can you share that's on the horizon for Hedera in 2021?
That's a great question. I mean, there's only so much that I can kind of publicly share, but I think that we're looking forward to what through Mance and our town halls and through the community has kind of been dubbed the year of scale. So, throughout 2020, we've had a lot of consistently good news and announcements in terms of companies that are, either in the process of deploying on Hedera or starting their efforts to integrate Hedera in some way. This is everything from the Coupon Bureau hoping to be in a majority of US physical retail locations to, the Chopra Foundation announcing a mental health awareness project on Hedera. Spencer Dinwiddie's Galaxy project, have all been announced in the past couple months. And so we're really excited for, the first half of the year, we should be seeing a lot of these projects that we've heard about and have been working on actually go live in production on the mainnet. So that's something I'm really excited about. I think watching like the Coupon Bureau and Galaxy and FPOS and a couple of these other, well-known projects come actually into production is going to be very exciting. Obviously, we're very much looking forward to filling out the council as much as possible, getting new household names on the council. And I think alongside that, a lot of them are at the point that they're going to be launching or hopefully launching with use cases as well. So that's something that I'm very excited for. I mean, just like the ecosystem support in terms of exchange listings and exchanges and custody providers supporting different types of assets on Hedera, whether those are through the token service or the consensus service. I think, 2021, I'm expecting that kind of ecosystem of token support to really fill up. Even with things like Alex Taylor and his KPay project, I think that we're finally seeing a lot of these things that people have been working on come to a great point where people can start taking them to market and use them and have a lot more fun with what they can do with their HBAR.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of good projects coming to light here in the late 2020, early 2021. One of the things that I didn't mention right out the gate is why people might care about me and what I'm doing and what my role and place in the Hedera ecosystem is. Failed to mention that Walla Wallet, the HBAR wallet by Ledgerama, is a new offering. We just released as of November 30th. We officially launched on iOS, so we are now live on iOS and Android. Yay! Yeah, it's been a long year. Many thanks to my dedicated and talented partner Robert Kainz. It has been a rough year, but it's been filled with some good stuff too. So really excited to announce the release of Walla Wallet on both platforms. We got our security audits out of the way, so I am confident in saying that we are the most secure mobile wallet for Hederians and HBAR. And it's just really exciting to finally start to see some of these projects come to life. And one of the things that I'm excited about with Walla Wallet is that, now we can say that we've put a stamp on the ecosystem, so to speak. We are providing a user-friendly, safe and stable, fully supported HBAR wallet. And it's something that you can actually download and use. That's a lot of fun to be able to say that. There's a lot of projects, and I know that there's a lot of people building good things, but to have a product that people can actually go to the store, download, get their hands on. You might think, it's a wallet. It's it's another wallet, right? Well, it's not just another wallet, because Hedera Hashgraph is not just another distributed ledger technology. We believe that that HBAR are going to be the fuel to drive a lot of enterprise use cases going forward in the future. So we are incredibly excited to announce the release of Walla Wallet on both iOS and Android. So didn't get that out of the way in the beginning, but wanted to throw all that stuff out there because of course we are incredibly excited about it. So Cooper, back to you. And I did want to keep this somewhat lighthearted. So how about on a personal note? You want to talk about any personal challenges or exciting things you've got coming on in the future? Maybe some vacations that got canceled in 2020, or some exciting things that you've got coming up for 2021?
That is a good question. Nothing too big going on. I think earlier this year, I was scheduled to actually do a trip to India to do developer trainings with Resolute and Guard Global and a few other kind of projects and partners that we have out there, which I unfortunately had to cancel, and had, part of a trip through Asia, which would have been my first time to Asia, which I was a little upset that I had to not go through with, but we'll see what comes in the new year. There's plenty of time, and we'll see what happens. In terms of Hedera and things that I'm working on / excited about, we're doing a good amount of interesting stuff around governance tokens and ways that you can use assets on Hedera to facilitate different types of governance models. Whether that's, making sure everyone that's using the consensus service and like an AppNet model stays in sync with which version of the code that they're running, to actually changing protocols with different types of proposals and votes and all those types of fun things that you see with governance tokens. So that's something I'm excited about.
Cool, great. And so okay, so what would you suggest as far as people wanting to catch up on the latest and greatest Hedera Hashgraph news? What's the best resource for them? Just while I've got you here, I think a lot of us probably could anticipate what you might say, but what are some of the things that we should keep our eyes on here at the end of this year and in the year to come?
Yeah, I think just keep watching our blog is probably the best place to stay up to date. Every time we have, either a new tutorial, a press release, a partnership announcement, any of, those types of things, usually the first thing that we'll do is upload it onto our blog so that people can read about it. Even today, I think we announced our partnership with TRM Labs and different types of, compliance functionalities that they offer that are integrated with Hedera now, which is exciting. So yeah, that's my number one suggestion. And then I don't know, crypto Twitter is a big thing. So anything that we publish on our blog, it'll be on Twitter as well, if you just want to follow along or turn on notifications for that too.
Gotcha. Sounds good. All right, so I'm gonna jump ship, and we will. I know unless there's anything you want to dive into, I know you've got to go before too long, Cooper. So if there's any questions that you have for any of the community members, or anything else that you want to kind of throw out on the table, so to speak, before you have to wrap it up, because I know you said you have to go in fairly short order. So
I have probably about 10 or so more minutes before I have to hop off here. So I appreciate that. I would just be curious how Ledgerama felt about this and how excited you are going into the new year.
Okay. Well, so like I said, of course, we're excited about the release of Walla Wallet. That's a big feather in the cap. And we're at an interesting place at Ledgerama because we've got some really great options in front of us. And so we're at sort of a crossroads. And so I mentioned that in the podcast that we did a couple days ago, and I'll kind of keep it there. Right now, because we're at this crossroads, I don't want to spoil one direction or the other by starting talking about one thing too early. Right now, I just kind of want to bask in the glow of success that we've got with Walla Wallet as that's released out into the world. And of course, it's not only a great way to send, receive, and store your HBAR, but it's also a great way to buy HBAR. That's one of the things that, we're kind of in a crypto boom right now. And that's one of the things that was really challenging to me when I first got into the crypto space, was just finding an on-ramp. Like, how do I get into this system? And especially when things were really heating up in crypto space, trying to get into the exchanges and stuff was just a nightmare. I mean, there was no way, you just weren't getting in. A lot of them, it would take, if your registration, KYC stuff, if it ever went through at all, it was going to take weeks. So that's one thing that, I definitely recommend folks that, if you haven't if you haven't signed up with some onboard, some way to get into the space and participate in the action when it comes up. Of course, none of this is trading advice. I'm just a guy that holds meetups in Savannah, Georgia. I'm not an investment advisor or anything like that, but I definitely think it's good to have a way in should you be interested when the time comes and it starts heating up. So MoonPay widget via Walla Wallet, excellent way to get your hands on some HBAR if you want to get some HBAR in before the price action goes to the moon, so to speak. But yeah, so other, as far as other things that we're excited about, really, I'm just excited about the year of scale and seeing what happens. Like I said, we're kind of basking in the glow of the success of Walla Wallet. So, we'd like to see transactions picking up. I'm really hoping to see that, people start, now that the announcements have been made, we're starting to make a little bit of noise around the wallet. Hopefully people will start to get their hands on it and start using it. That's one of the things that's exciting about it, is that you can actually use it. And so looking forward to, to seeing people kind of get their hands on it. And of course, there's tons of stuff that should be coming out, that we anticipate coming out from other companies that are building on Hashgraph and enterprises and all those kinds of things. So definitely excited about 2021 and seeing all the excited things that people have been heads down building for the past year or 2 years. Some of these things are going to finally start to come to light. So super excited about that.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun.
There are a couple other things, Jeremy.
Yeah, Jesse, please go ahead.
Just in thinking about it, not sure if this was touched on yet, but just with Walla Wallet, it is probably the easiest way to create. And in fact, it is the easiest way to create multiple accounts and be able to interact with them. And not only that, multiple wallets and multiple accounts. So, and also I should say, the option to create testnet accounts if you're a developer. So that's one of the big things that Rob was, very adamant on, was the ability for developers to be able to use the wallet to, quickly spin up accounts. And in that way, Walla Wallet really helps to reduce time to create, wallets for dev purposes, or just on the mainnet if you want to, and keep things organized. If you've got multiple sources that HBAR need to go to, and you need to keep it all straightforward, and you're able to name wallets and name individual accounts even. So it's really easy to actually keep track of where everything's going. And Rob's done a great job of making it in a very hierarchical order. So that's just two of the other things that I thought really were differentiating right now.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jesse. Yeah, that's one of the things that I've said recently, is that if you want to, on an individual level or on a corporate level, if you want to harness the power of Hashgraph technology, you're going to need more than one Hedera account. And how are you going to manage that account? Well, right now, the best way to manage the account is through Walla Wallet. You can create as many accounts as you want. The first one is on us. So you're right. You're exactly right, Jesse. It creates a great opportunity, a great way for people to manage accounts. And the dev support is really crucial too. That's something that, is maybe easy to overlook, but I think it's something that the developers will get really excited about, is the ability to switch back and forth, really with just one button press, to switch back and forth between, maybe 2 button presses, to switch back and forth between testnet and mainnet. So yeah, another exciting feature. Thanks for bringing that up, Jesse.
No problem.
All right, so and of course, this is just a Christmas meetup. This is totally informal. Anybody that's out there that's got questions, let's see, there's a couple things that come in on the chat. So, all right, just want to make sure, if I missed something that came up in the chat, please feel free to flag it, raise your hand, unmute yourself, jump in. This is it's meant to be a party, so so people are welcome to just jump in there, ask questions, all those kinds of things. So if anything comes up, you got other questions about Walla Wallet or Hedera Hashgraph or any of these things, please just jump in and let us know.
Well, I've got a question for Cooper. Hey, Cooper. I mean, one of the big things that happened in 2020 with Hedera, of course, is Hedera token service and the larger token rollout. And I just wanted to hear from you, kind of like what are your insights on it, especially in regards to companies like Inara that are in the Hedera Boost program, and what kinds of significant or insignificant ramifications might tokens have for us and other companies?
Yeah, I mean, so I think the Hedera token service is a very unique offering in the market. If you are interested in doing security tokens, stable coins, micropayments of any kind, it seems like it is by far the most differentiated product in the market for doing tokens. In terms of cost benefits, it's incredibly cheap. In terms of performance capabilities, so how many transactions you can do and how quick time to settle it is on those. And so I think that that's kind of just the very early days of us starting to address those specific types of use cases. And I think you'll see the types of use cases that we address expand over time after we make sure that we get, you know, those kind of core targets really well suited for. So I think that it's not only significant for projects building on Hedera and token issuers, but I do think that it is kind of a big deal for the industry. I think you'll see a lot of projects maybe not launch something like, you know, just a one-for-one copy of the token service, but I think that you'll see a trend towards services and API sets that support specific use cases very well. You see this kind of like Cardano just announced a new type of token service, which is similar to the Hedera token service, but obviously without the performance characteristics and costs of Hedera. So I think that it represents kind of like an overall market trend. So very exciting for anyone who is interested in, you know, any type of asset tokenization. And if you're doing micropayments or stable coins or security tokens and you need these compliance features out of the box, I think it's very clear why you would choose Hedera, because we support all these things out of the box and it's really easy to integrate.
Cooper, I've got a question for you regarding tokens. So, you know, in the HBAR world, if you leave money in your account, I know eventually, you know, it's going to charge you tiny bits of HBAR to maintain the account until it goes to zero or whatever. Are those fees going to change at all with tokens that might be in your account? Like if you have 10 tokens in the account, will those fees go up to maintain the state of those tokens? You know, or in general, how is that managed? I know there's gas fees charged for sending tokens and creating them and that kind of thing, but for maintaining them long term, like if I create a token for Ledgerama and I want it to be around 30 years from now, but maybe not many people use it in that time, but the people who do want to make sure their state is preserved. Is there anything that we need to be aware of?
Yeah, it's a great question. So those fees will always be charged in HBAR. You know, we're not going to be charging fees in other types of assets that are issued on Hedera. Right. And it's currently not, you know, we haven't set in stone and we don't have like a fee model that's approved by the council for when we do implement rent. So how much it actually costs to maintain that account over time, and if that is dependent on the size of your account, you know, how many tokens you actually have listed on it, that is still not 100% approved. I do think it's going to be a little while before we actually do implement rent. So, you know, definitely have some time there. But at the end of the day, the cost of maintaining your account is going to be tiny fractions of an HBAR or tiny fractions of a penny. So if all of your users have 5, 10 HBAR, like 30 cents of HBAR in their account, I don't imagine rent being more expensive than, you know, so, a very, very small amount. It's mostly to mitigate spam.
Right. So the rent will be charged only for the user, the owner of the account, not for the issuer of the token, though. Is that correct?
So there might be a small auto renew requirement on the token itself, kind of like files or smart contracts. And anyone would be able to make sure that there is a balance in that auto renew. So, you know, you as the token issuer could determine the auto renew for a token, or, you know, if it's a completely decentralized token and there's no admin, no compliance features, then any of the users would be able to act as the auto renew account for that token.
So that fee could potentially be large. Is that true? If you have many tokens that are created, that are out there?
It would probably be pretty small, just like the other transaction fees. I think the biggest concern would probably be the state size of an individual account. I don't know offhand if there is a limit currently implemented where your account can only hold up to 100 different tokens. I don't believe that's the case. I think you can hold an arbitrarily large number of them. But that would be the biggest question is, does the cost to maintain your account expand proportionately to the amount of tokens you're holding? It would probably make sense if it does, but I think we'll also have some time there where we can wait and see and, see how many account tokens on average does an actual account have, how are people using it, and then potentially adjust the fee model based on usage and how people need it.
Okay, yeah, and will there be options too? Like, for example, maybe I want you as the token holder to pay the fee to renew the tokens versus me, the issuer, right? So maybe in some cases, the issuer might want to pay those fees so that it's not a burden on the users of the token, right?
Yeah, I mean, in general, anyone's able to update the auto renew or, extend the rent on an entity. It's just in terms of if you want to have it deduct automatically from an account, how do you determine which account it automatically deducts from?
Okay.
I think it's possible that like a community just makes, one account, they throw away the keys and anyone can send HBAR into that account to maintain it. And it's basically a burn account, but instead of burning the tokens, the only thing that it can be used for is to auto renew a token or an entity.
Cool.
So it's,
Thanks for that, Cooper.
yeah,
I have a totally unrelated question.
sure. I do have to hop off in a minute or two, but I'll try to answer it quickly.
Totally unrelated. Don't even know if you can comment on it. But do you know if Lehman spends, a portion of his time trying to solve, other different complex problems that may or may not have anything to do with integrating or adding features to the network?
Knowing Lehman, he is always trying to solve difficult problems.
Yeah.
And
I'm just wondering if those problems happen to be more directed towards things that may be of use to the network.
I think that he is always trying to solve so many things.
I know.
Some of them are related to Hedera, some of them are probably not at all.
Yeah.
But that's just Lehman. Like the way that he tells the story of him coming up with Hashgraph is that he's been trying to think about distributed consensus for years, if not decades. And it's just one of those problems that, latches onto him and he constantly revisits. So I think he has a lot of, he's such a brilliant guy. Like he has a lot of those challenges that he likes to think about.
Solving for, distributed systems is not the first thing that he's, brilliant thing that he's come up with. I was just curious if that's still just part of his regiment to, play around with interesting concepts and see what comes of them.
I don't think that he will ever stop doing that.
Yeah, I know. And I just, I wonder if it's part of his daily habits.
I don't follow him around with the camera, unfortunately.
Good. That's a good one for the town hall, Jesse.
I know.
So I'm gonna jump over to some other teams. Big part of the reason for this was to bring back some of the teams that we've talked with over the year and kind of get a little recap of how they've been and what they got going on for 2021. Cooper, I know you got to jump off, so I'm going to go ahead and use this opportunity to say thank you so much for joining us. And it was an interesting year, and I look forward to a better one in 2021. Thanks, Cooper.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy holidays to everyone. Couldn't be more excited about the new year in 2021.
Great. Thanks again, Coop. All right. So Glenn, let's talk a little bit about Inara. Inara was, let's see, I forget what month was that. October? I want to say it was October. It might have been September though. I forget which month you were on. But Inara is one of my favorite use cases in the Hedera ecosystem. Was really pleased to be joined by Glenn and Alex and Albert, I believe it was. Is that right?
Albert, yes.
Yeah, Albert. Okay, so yeah,
one of our developers. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see Albert here tonight, but that's totally fine. Totally excited to have you and Alex on the show. So tell me, Glenn. Tell me first off, for the folks that may not know anything about Inara, just a real quick. What is Inara and what are you trying to do? How was your year and what's going on in your world?
Great, great. Well, thanks. You know, it's really pretty simple what Inara does. We're when the reader turns the page of your ebook, we send we get a micro payment sent from the reader's wallet to the author's wallet, deposited, you know, for the author, and it's groundbreaking for e-publishing. We like to say when the page turns, the author earns, and just kind of really bigger picture kind of ramifications. We're really looking at the end of subscriptions, and starting with you know, ebook subscriptions. Obviously, that's a big part of the e-publishing model right now. But when you think about it, what Hedera has done is really opened up the possibility that the whole business model of subscriptions could blow up, and you know, become like I like to think of the, you know, the radio industry, right? You know, broadcast radio. Well, what happened to broadcast radio? When you think about it, and the advent of digital, broadcast is still around. You know, you can still jump into your car and pump up your car radio and listen to your local country music radio station, but you're also you got, if you want, but you know, you probably have Sirius satellite in your car too. So,
Right.
So, you know, when you think about it, you know, the current model, the whole subscription model for just about any business.
Right. Yeah. Micropayments was definitely what got me intrigued in Hashgraph in the first place. The ability to transact minuscule amounts with low, you know, with very, very low fees. I mean, that's a very attractive value proposition, to be sure.
Yeah, and it's a starting point for our business model, you know. But you know, you think about all of the other, you know, all the other kind of value elements that Hedera brings, you know, with the consensus service, and I mean, the trust, the accountability, the you know, the transparency, and the ability for, you know, to be able to keep, you know, what you want private and what you want public, and just have all of that just knit up so nice and powerful is just huge. So 2021, we're just loving it. You know, we're you know, you mentioned Albert. He's working really hard to you know, we're just looking we're just looking with great anticipation to having a you know, just to have a reader be able to access an Inara book, just turn the pages, you know, just go from display to display, and only pay for what they read.
Right.
I mean, that's.
So what's the big milestone? What's the next big milestone for Inara?
Yeah. Well,
before we go into that, Glenn, hold on. I'm
Yeah.
getting ahead of myself a little bit. How about most recent accomplishment? Right. We'll kind of talk a little bit about how 2020 went for you and what's.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Well, you know,
just real brief, you know, and then we'll head into the next big milestone.
Yeah, well, a big plus certainly has been our collaborative relationship with you, Alex, and KPay, and just being able to connect to Hedera with the power of KPay, and you know, just to have that transactional connection. Has been just a real boon for Inara, big plus, and of course we're collaborating with you with Ledgerama as well, Jeremy, and in some exciting ways, as you know, that I'm not at liberty to talk about publicly, but you know, so these are the kinds of relationships that I think in 2020 have really been just has helped to fuel and power Inara. And a lot of it's just been real fundamental work, just getting ready, just sort of even just puzzling through not only the tech parts of things, but the business elements of it too are just, when you think about when you're looking to basically be transformative instead of just do something a little different from what the other guys are doing, it takes a lot of thinking through. So we've done a lot of that in 2020. So 2021, we're looking to pop this.
Right, lightning flash, bang, wang, bang, boom. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So we're just really itching to get this into alpha. We're hoping to get this done real soon. I never want to. I tend to want to put a specific time frame on these things, but any developer knows that's a fool's errand. But soon,
right?
So
is alpha? So alpha, is that the next big milestone for you then?
It will be
able to get it into some people's hands.
Yeah.
And what's your alpha going to look like, Glenn?
Well, we have the Inara ebook e-commerce platform that we built some time ago. So we have books, we have authors, we've got an ebook, e-reader that's ours that displays the book on any device that runs a browser. And so you're going to be able to. So we've got all that right now. We've got the authors, we got the books, we got the platform, we got the e-reader. What we're doing is we're plugging in the gold, so people can, the whole transactional thing. And then there are other things beyond that we're really looking to add value to the experience. But that's the main thing, only pay for what you read. And when the page turns, the author earns. And so that's the big kahuna that we're really looking forward to putting into people's hands.
Excellent. Do you have at least maybe not a launch date, but like a quarter? Do you know approximately what?
Yeah. Well, knock on wood, first quarter of 2021.
Excellent. So that's very cool. And then hopefully we can get move into beta as soon as possible, so more people can get their hands on it. Really looking forward to it. We've got a lot of as you know, Glenn, we've got a lot of avid readers and writers in my family. So everybody's pretty excited about what's to come with Inara.
Yeah. We're really looking forward to making a difference. Not only for the reader, because I think discovery is just going to take off big time, but for the authors, who have just been, a lot of them just been really suffering in a lot of ways with them in the marketplace, and we're really looking to make a big difference for the authors so that they can continue to write the great books that readers want to read.
Absolutely. So before I jump over to another one of our guests, Glenn, I just kind of wanted to ask, just kind of a fun one. What's one of your favorite childhood holiday memories?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, here's one. I've actually been thinking about this. Well, maybe I was like 9 or 10, and I don't know if people that are old enough will remember slot cars and slot car tracks, where you'd have a little car and you'd have a track. You'd put together the track pieces, and it would run electrical current through a slot, and so you put the car on the track, and the little pin would go into the slot, and then you had a controller.
Right.
So you can make it. You could speed it up and slow it down. Depending. So on the straightaways, you'd crank it up, and then on the curves, you'd slow it down so it wouldn't flip over and crash. Right. So I got one of those when I was about 9 or 10. It was just like, it was huge.
Yeah.
For Christmas, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. That's cool. Very cool. All right, so I'm going to jump over. Thanks, Glenn. And by the way, again, this is informal. If anybody has questions for Glenn or Inara, we're just kind of circling around. I'm just kind of doing the rounds right now. So if please, any questions or anything, put in chat. I see we got something in chat. Is anything important? Okay, this is super having to jump off. Okay, great. So Mac over at 3IEIO, I'm gonna call upon you, buddy. You showed up. Thank you so much for being here.
No, sorry, I was running a little bit late, and I just stuffed a bunch of smokehouse almonds into my mouth just now. So sorry about that.
Perfect timing, right? That's like it's like at the restaurant, you know, the waiter always comes to ask you, you know, how you're doing and how your meal was, right as you just, you know, shoved a big piece of something in your mouth.
Absolutely. Yep.
So if you want, do you want me to jump around for a minute? Or are you good?
No, I'm good. I'm
Okay.
good actually. And I hate to, and I may have to run shortly too, unfortunately.
Okay, no problem.
I
I'm glad I got you.
promised my daughter I would take her to go see this once in a lifetime Christmas star. So we're gonna pop out the camera and see if we can get a shot of it. I've got one of those Nikon something 1000s that has like a 3200x digital zoom on it, and you can actually see Saturn's rings. So we're gonna point it at the star and see what we can capture. Anyway,
Nice.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
So what's going on? How was 2020? And you know, I know there's some good stuff that happened in 2020, and what's going on for 2021?
Yeah, 2020, despite all the other things on other senses and levels, was actually a really good year for 3IEIO. We decided to kind of go the opposite direction and kick it into fifth gear at the onset of this pandemic, and rather than withhold or scale anything back. We were able to get some great recognition and validation in Hedera 20, which was great. And taking that third place spot was we're very proud of that. Very proud of the team. And we've recently re-engaged into what will be our alpha sprint from a development front. And that alpha sprint is kind of modeled around two pilot agreements that we have with two notable companies that want to run pilots of 3IEIO. That's Shinola Detroit and their sister company, kind of in the same portfolio under the same ownership, Filson Outfitters. They're a hunter and fisher outfitter that has turned a bit trendy. It's a company that has been around for over 100 years, but the person who co-founded Fossil Watches and Shinola bought the company back in the mid 90s and revitalized it. So those are the two companies we're going to be starting pilots with. And for those of you that are here that need a quick refresher on what 3IEIO is, on the surface, it's an employee recognition platform that allows employees to recognize each other through a mobile or desktop interface for a job well done. The difference is that the recognition will call out a core value of the company. So HR loves this because they can start to see how their core values are being lived out. And you can also call out skill sets. So the individuals will love this because we did use the decentralized identifier or the DID spec. So we can actually start supplying people with DID profiles. And for right now, while education credentials and licensure and certifications might be the most obvious things to put on your digital profile, among many other things, we're going to start with allowing them to build a verified workforce reputation, so they can look back at the aggregate of the way the world, their peers around them, recognize them for skills and values, and then of course conversely the way they've recognized the others around them for skills and values. And those simple data sets alone can be very powerful for someone that wants to grow their master their craft or grow within their career, as well as just to own and have that information. And it's also really good for HR departments and leadership of companies to have that insight, so they can see how their core values are being lived out and give a solution to their employees in this post-COVID world for another way to engage with each other and have that sense of belonging while we're in this work from anywhere environment. So that's a quick synopsis on what 3IEIO is. So we're looking forward to a really good 2021 as well.
Awesome. So what's the latest as far as so if people want to stay up with the news from 3IEIO, we had, I don't think you and I had talked in the past about, or what are your plans as far as bootstrapping or investing? I mean, are you talking to people? What's the, if somebody, just had a big chunk of cash in their hands and they wanted to help you out, is there somewhere that they should go, or, what's it looking like for 3IIO on that front these days?
Yeah, we've been fortunate enough to continue bootstrapping. So you're looking at our cap table right now. So we're keeping things really clean for now. The idea is that when we get on the other side or toward the other side of these pilots, and of course we're hoping that they're going to be quote unquote successful, and we also have some other prospects lined up, some big names that you guys would all recognize, that I might not be at liberty to talk about just yet, or really just don't want to in case they don't happen. Right. But the idea is, around Q2 of 2021 of the calendar year, we'll do two things. We'll be documenting and getting some case studies built around the successful pilots with Shinola and Filson. We'll be lining up some more demand, targeted in a targeted fashion with some of these other bigger names, these Fortune 1000s. And we'll also be more closely entertaining talks with potential investment partners, and more of the institutional investment. We might be looking to raise a proper seed round at that point. So for now, the best way to, if you're interested in learning more, or if you're interested in being part of a syndicate in those rounds or something like that, then we can certainly connect on LinkedIn and chat. But those things really won't open up until second quarter next year.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Good news. So LinkedIn's a great way to keep a hold of you. What about anything else that you want to share with folks about, just ways to keep up with what you're doing? Hedera 20 was a great win. It sounds like you've got, you've got a number of, a number of really good wins lined up. Hoping you knock them down. What else have you got for folks out there? I know the website we had talked a little bit about in the past. Is that something that I hadn't looked at it recently? So I don't know if it's been updated or if there are plans to update it, or.
Yeah, it hasn't been. We're still, I'll fall on my sword a bit and say that we've still been a bit in covert mode until we really have something of substance to talk about. Hedera 20 and our participation there was definitely worthy of discussing and sharing publicly, and we did. But everything else is being shared as in forums like this. So unfortunately, there's not really an RSS feed or anything, or a blog post notification that you would get much out of right now, until again, probably end of first quarter, second quarter next year, when we start publicly coming out with little insights into how the pilot programs are going and those sorts of things. We've been a bit relaxed on the marketing front.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. So have we. It's until you've got that real compelling story, you kind of, what's the point of really making a bunch of noise and putting a nice shiny web page out there unless you feel like you've really got a compelling story to tell. So definitely understand the reasons and the rationale there, because I know that once you've got exciting news to share with the world, it'll be out there and it'll be looking good. So I have no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So one thing, so I'll ask you, just like I asked Glenn, before I jump over and let somebody else talk for a little bit. Give me a favorite holiday memory. It could be childhood or adult. It doesn't matter.
And I did have one of those slot tracks also. That was one of my Christmas gifts, and that was awesome. I remember that. But I think more memorable, and for me personally, was when I received a Commodore 64 for Christmas. That was, so I know I'm dating myself a little bit there, but that was back in the early 80s, and I received that was my first computer. and I had a lot of fun with that, the Commodore 64. So
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, dating yourself a little bit, but it's something that I remember well also.
yeah.
All right, so I'm going to jump over to Alex. Alex over at KPay. You still around? I think I see you on the list there. Hopefully it's
Yeah, he's there. I'm looking at him.
I think he's on mute.
I think, yeah, you're muted, Alex. I can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
There you go.
there he is.
Yeah, I'm still here with my whiskey.
Yay!
Woohoo!
3 cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers, everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Oops.
lost you again.
Uh,
There you go. I'm not sure what
Might
happened there.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're coming in loud
Okay.
and clear now. I'll let you know.
I'll hold still. It might be a slightly dodgy headphone set.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's been a very, very strange year, I think, as it has been for everyone. And I suppose perhaps one of the silver linings of this year has been all of the extra time I've had to spend indoors, which has been, quite a lot of that has been spent focusing on learning more about Hedera and working on KPay since the hackathon. So that's been a lot of fun, and collaborating with some of you guys and with Glenn, that's been really good. As Glenn was saying earlier, we started to work together on a reward button actually for Inara. Initially, the very simplest thing. I've always been trying to focus on what's the simplest thing I can do on Hedera that is useful, because I don't have huge resources and this is all very new, so keep it simple. And one of the first things that Glenn did with Inara was to put a little, like a tipping button, but they called it a reward button, so that anyone could go when they're reading a book on the Inara platform, they can send a tip to the author. And I thought, well, that's a great idea. How about take that idea to other areas, like make tipping really easy. So that's sort of one of the things I've been focusing on recently with KPay is to just make the idea that if someone wants to help or reward the efforts of someone else, to make that a really easy process. So that's led to things like this YouTube tipping feature, which launched recently on KPay. And that's received really great feedback from the community. So I really appreciate the support everyone's given for that. And it's exciting to see a few users in the community now supporting that feature. So when a YouTube video is put out, or even a live stream like this, it's possible too. Anyone who has well, actually, you don't even need a Hedera account, because there's a promo out at the moment. Everyone gets a free $1. So you go to any YouTube video that's got the KPay tipping button on, and you can just tip away. So that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, the tipping's a really cool use case. It's one of those things that I've thought about a bunch of times. When micropayments and Hedera came out, there's been a number of times I thought, with these cheap transaction costs, how cool would it be to just be able to flick a penny at somebody that you like? We've never been able to do that before. It's one thing to go to Patreon and slap down a credit card, and and then you kind of really, you feel like you're committed at that point, right? And even if it's only $10 or something, it's $10. While that may not be a whole lot, it's a penny is a whole lot less. And so being able to share, your sentiments with artists, authors, creators of, developers, really any creator of any kind, to be able to share a little bit of appreciation with them a little bit at a time is pretty cool. So I like that. What's the next big milestone for you, Alex?
Well, it's really continuing from this month, where I launched 2 promotions on the tipping. And based on that feedback, I'm going to be talking to more people over the next month, starting in January 2021, and just getting more feedback and seeing where to go from there. I mean, it's hard to really, lay down a clear roadmap because we're in such new territory here. It's a bit like, it feels a bit like hacking through a jungle. It's like looking one foot ahead at a time. But what I'm finding is that each time I hack another foot ahead, I'm just seeing a whole load of new things. So putting out, just moving slowly forward is I'm discovering new things all the time. So it's so yeah, that's great, and opening new doors and meeting new people.
Right. Yeah, it can be incredibly challenging. It reminds me of a quote, something like, amidst the cheers of joy and celebration, in my mind, all I could see was troubles innumerable. It makes me think of that. It's nice to get together and and share stories, but that's the sense of the jungle and the newness of the technology. There are days where it can be quite daunting. So I admire you for jumping in there. I remember when you jumped in, when I started seeing you in the Discord channels, and then saw you jump into the Hedera 20 hackathon, and of course the relationship between KPay and Inara has taken off. So it's been a pretty exciting second half of the year, at least from my perspective, seeing you jump in. And I know you're talented, and and you're dedicated, and I see you're around and you're a smiling face in the community, so we certainly appreciate that. I'll finish off with the fun question here. Can you give me a fun or favorite childhood holiday memory?
I'd have to say going to Denmark to Legoland when I was a young kid, because I've always been a huge Lego fan, and I used to play with Lego for hours all the time. And being able to go to the original Legoland in Denmark was a real treat. So yeah, and I remember the beaches in Denmark, actually, because you wouldn't think of it as famous for its beaches, but on a nice summer's day with the dunes along the west coast, it's absolutely gorgeous. So that was all around a great holiday.
Right. Okay. Cool. My brother-in-law is a huge Lego collector, and he's a Lego aficionado, so to speak. So I'm sure you two could swap stories. All right. So let's see. Well, it looks like that's about it. We've kind of gone through all the guests. We did have a couple guests that weren't able to make it. So, so hopefully they'll join us at the next Hedera Savannah meetup. I'll jump before we finish up. I'll jump over to Rob. Rob, is there anything you wanted to share? So at the very least, I've probably talked enough for both of us. But Rob, can you share a favorite childhood holiday experience with us?
Oh man, I really should have been thinking about this, but I mean, like Mac was saying, honestly, the Commodore was one of the same ones. I also got one for Christmas once, and also before that, it was an Intellivision. So I think the Intellivision was the first, and then, but my parents ran a business, so they had an IBM PC, and I spent more time on that than they did. So like when the IBM PC first came out, and so I was learning how to program in BASIC, and then also Legos. I love Legos, but I've never been to Legoland. I built a Lego gun one time with a spring-loaded clip that could shoot using like a rubber band. Legos. Man, I bruised the hell out of my friend's leg with that thing. But yeah, those were good days.
Awesome. So is there anybody out in audience land that's got any questions for any of these groups before I go ahead and wrap it up? You're welcome to ask, you're welcome to ask anything, or if any of the guests, if you've got any, any anecdotes or anything you want to share about, future efforts or anything, now's the time to do it before we go ahead and start winding it down. We're a little past the hour now. Usually these go about an hour, so this is kind of a natural breaking point for us. But if I don't see any other, let's see, let me check the chat here, see if there's anybody come in. Okay, Mac had to jump off, but he shared some of his contact information. So his contact info is there in the chat if anybody needs it. It's mac@3ie.io. All right, and so before we go ahead and sign off and wish everybody happy holidays and happy new year, I do want to thank the Creative Coast for hosting the Hedera Hashgraph Savannah Meetup. Jen Bonet and Caitlin over at Creative Coast have been a big help to me personally and also to Ledgerama. I've been hosting Hedera meetups since 2018, and they've always been hosted on behalf of hosted by Creative Coast. Before the pandemic hit, they gave me the public venue to use, and now that now that everything's virtual, they helped me get the Zoom set up. And they've basically they just kind of provide a platform for us to talk about what we're doing. And the tech group in Savannah is a pretty closely knit group. But it's growing and getting better all the time. So Savannah's a pretty exciting place to be. And if there's anybody out there that has been thinking about relocating, you might want to check out Savannah, Georgia. There's been some incentives created recently. There's a tech logistics corridor initiative here in the state of Georgia. So for all the cities that are surrounding the port of Savannah, which is a very big port, there's a lot of initiatives. There's some incentives. They're paying people to move to Savannah because they want to increase the talent base and the tech base here in the coastal Georgia region. So if anybody's thinking about relocating somewhere in the States, Savannah, Georgia is a good place to keep an eye out. But I always do just like to thank the work that Creative Coast has done for both me and my company. And of course, as I mentioned in the beginning, my name is Jeremy Fletcher. I'm co-founder and CEO of a little tech company called Ledgerama. But I don't think we're going to be little for too much longer. We got some exciting things coming down the road for 2021. So really looking forward to this year of scale. And coming around the corner very soon, Walla Wallet will be reaching out with a crowdfunding initiative. So folks that are out there, kind of keep your eyes out on Walla Wallet. We're going to be doing some crowdfunding in the very near future here to help us kind of kick off the new year right and get a little bit more resources so we can keep the party going. Also did want to mention something that's pretty exciting that both Rob and I and a number of other members of the community are pretty excited about, something called the HBAR Foundry. So the HBAR Foundry is a collection of Hedera MVPs, community members, teams, developers, business people, and the like that are joining hands, joining forces. Cooper calls us the Avengers. So the Avengers are assembling, and the HBAR Foundry will be coming out with some interesting things. So look out for HBAR Foundry coming down the line. We'll have some more announcements about that coming up in the near future. And again, I just want to thank our guests and everybody for showing up. For those of you out in internet online land that caught the messages in Discord and Telegram and LinkedIn and Facebook, I just really appreciate everybody showing up. There will be a recording of this made available at some point here in the near future by Creative Coast. They do a little bit of editing just to make sure that everything, all the sound and everything was coming out okay. Give us a nice little graphic at the beginning. So the recording will be made available. And I just want to thank Glenn from Inara. Thank you so much for being here. Alex from KPay. Lou, my good buddy out there, appreciate you showing up. And of course, Mac and Cooper and Lena and all the folks that showed up. And Jesse, we really appreciate everybody being here. And unless there's anything else, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Wish everybody a very happy holidays and a happy new year. Can't wait to hear from all of you again. And be safe out there.